I took the alien boy home. The Queen's reward left me breathless. Ethan never thought his quiet evening would turn into something that could change his life forever. He had spent the day fixing old engines and small robots in his workshop, tucked away at the edge of the city. It was the kind of life most people would call ordinary, maybe even boring, but Ethan liked it that way. He didn't crave adventure or danger. That was until a strange, almost glowing figure limped into his yard, collapsing against the fence. At first, Ethan thought it was some animal, a large, strange animal that he had never seen before. But when he stepped closer, he froze. The creature was small, no taller than a 10-year-old child, but it had an otherworldly aura. Its skin shimmered faintly in the twilight, soft and pale with hints of colors that didn't exist in any rainbow Ethan had ever seen. Its eyes were large, glowing softly, filled with fear and intelligence at the same time. The boy, or whatever he was, looked at Ethan as if trying to speak, but no sound came out. Ethan knelt beside the boy slowly, hands raised to show he meant no harm. "Hey, are you okay?" he asked, though he already knew the answer. The boy's breathing was shallow, ragged, and uneven. Blood stained his torn clothing, a strange blue liquid mixing with it that left Ethan both horrified and fascinated. He had never seen anything like this, not in any medical book or sci-fi show he had watched. "Come on, buddy," Ethan said, his voice firmer now. "We're getting you inside." Carefully, he lifted the alien boy into his arms. The creature stiffened at first, then relaxed slightly as if sensing Ethan's intentions were good. He could feel the boy's body trembling against his chest, weak but still alive. Inside the workshop, Ethan laid the boy on an old cot he used for napping during long work nights. The boy looked around curiously, his glowing eyes scanning every tool, every robot, and every scrap of metal. Ethan's heart raced. He didn't know how long the boy could survive without proper care, but he couldn't just leave him out there. Not when something this extraordinary had appeared in his life. "All right, let's see what we're dealing with," Ethan muttered, grabbing first aid supplies. He cleaned the wounds gently, noticing the strange tissue and the faint shimmer of energy flowing beneath the boy's skin. It wasn't human, that was obvious, but it wasn't dangerous, at least not yet. The boy's breathing grew steadier as Ethan worked, and he finally whispered, almost like a soft wind, "Human?" Ethan froze. The boy could speak or try to speak English. "Yeah, I'm human," he said carefully, "and I want to help you. Can you tell me your name?" The boy's lips moved, but the sound was faint, almost musical, as if his vocal cords weren't designed for human speech. He repeated slowly, "Xyl." "Xylo," Ethan echoed, testing the name. It felt strange on his tongue, but somehow right. "Okay, Xylo, you're safe here. I won't let anyone hurt you." He looked around at the walls filled with tools and machines, realizing that this small workshop, which had felt safe and ordinary before, was now the first line of defense for someone who could be the most important being he'd ever met. Xylo's gaze softened. He reached a delicate hand toward Ethan's face, and Ethan noticed the faint pulses of light that traveled along the boy's skin, almost like veins of energy. A strange warmth spread from the touch, not painful, not shocking, but comforting in a way Ethan had never felt before. He had no idea what kind of creature Xylo was, but he knew instinctively that they were connected now. Night fell outside, and the city lights blinked dimly in the distance. Ethan knew the world beyond his workshop was dangerous, and now it held more threats than he could imagine. He had seen news reports about alien sightings, government experiments, and military operations, but none of it prepared him for this, an actual living being from another world in his arms. He thought about calling someone, the authorities, maybe the police. But every instinct screamed against it. They wouldn't understand. They would capture Xylo or worse. "Don't worry," Ethan whispered. "You're safe. I won't let anyone take you." Xylo's eyes glimmered with something like hope, but also fear. He tried to speak again, and this time more clearly. "Queen must." His words faltered, and Ethan frowned. "Queen? What queen?" he asked gently, not wanting to push too hard. Xylo only shook his head, closing his eyes as if the memory was too painful to continue. Ethan stayed by his side, talking quietly, sharing stories of Earth, of life in this city, of small, silly things humans did. Slowly, Xylo's body relaxed further, and the faint glow in his skin dimmed to a calm shimmer. Ethan couldn't stop staring at him. He had rescued a being from another world, and in that act, his ordinary life had vanished. The next morning, Ethan knew he had to do more than just hide Xylo in the workshop. He scavenged for medical supplies, food, and anything that could help him understand the boy's biology. Xylo ate nothing at first, his small body trembling as if Earth's air and gravity were strange burdens. Ethan didn't force him. He simply waited, spoke gently, and let Xylo observe the new world. Over the following days, Ethan discovered more about Xylo's abilities. Small things at first, objects moving slightly when Xylo concentrated, minor sparks of light from his fingertips, and an uncanny ability to heal tiny cuts and bruises almost instantly. Ethan could feel the raw power within Xylo, but it wasn't violent or threatening. It was fragile, almost innocent, but danger wasn't far away. Unmarked ships appeared in the skies, scanning the city with instruments that Ethan couldn't identify. Drones patrolled nearby, and mysterious messages were intercepted on radio frequencies. Words he didn't understand, but the tone was unmistakably hostile. Someone or something was looking for Xylo, and it was only a matter of time before they found him. One evening, as Ethan and Xylo watched the sun set from the roof of the workshop, the boy spoke clearly for the first time. "Human, help, Queen," Ethan shivered. He didn't know what that meant yet, but the weight of responsibility pressed heavily on him. Protecting Xylo was no longer just about kindness. It was about survival for both of them, and something much larger than Earth itself. Determined, Ethan began to prepare. He fortified the workshop with makeshift barriers, encrypted communications, and hidden escape routes. He trained himself to stay alert, to anticipate danger, and to use his environment to their advantage. Each day, Xylo grew stronger, learning from Ethan, observing humans, and slowly trusting him. The bond between them became unspoken but undeniable, a silent pact that Ethan would do anything to keep the boy alive. Then came the night Ethan realized the first real threat had arrived. The sky above the city split with a blinding light as a ship descended, larger than any aircraft Ethan had seen, humming with energy that made the ground vibrate. The ship's hatch opened, and three figures emerged, moving with precision and purpose. They were humanoid, but their features were sharp, alien, and unmistakably dangerous. Ethan hid behind a stack of crates, holding his breath as Xylo stepped forward. The boy's small body glowed faintly, as if preparing for something he had never done before. Ethan felt fear and awe at the same time. He realized that they weren't just ordinary aliens, they were soldiers, trackers, and whatever they wanted, they would not leave empty-handed. Ethan's mind raced. Escape seemed impossible. Fighting was suicidal. But then he remembered every trick, every improvised invention he had built in his workshop. Humanity's strength had always been cleverness, creativity, and adaptability. He grabbed a coil of wires, a few EMP grenades he had built for testing, and a set of mirrors and lenses that could redirect light in dazzling ways. It wasn't much, but it was enough to create confusion and buy time. The intruders advanced, scanning the area. Xylo's glow intensified, and Ethan whispered, "Trust me." Together, they set their plan in motion. Light flashed, sparks flew, and the alien trackers stumbled, confused by the humans' ingenuity. Ethan didn't know how long it would hold, but it gave them a small window, a chance to survive, a chance to keep Xylo safe. As the night drew on, Ethan looked at the boy and realized something profound. This wasn't just an accident. The universe had thrust them together for a reason. Xylo's survival might depend on Earth, but Earth might also depend on humanity rising to a challenge it had never imagined. Ethan's ordinary life was gone. In its place was a responsibility that would demand every ounce of courage, cleverness, and heart he had. And yet, despite the fear and danger, he felt a spark of hope. Humans had always found a way. Perhaps this time they could do it across the stars. The next morning, Ethan awoke to the soft glow of sunlight filtering through the workshop windows. Xylo was already awake, sitting cross-legged on the floor, his glowing eyes scanning the room. The boy seemed restless, as if aware that something was coming. Ethan could feel the tension in the air too, a heavy presence he could not explain. He had barely slept, his mind running through strategies, escape routes, and ways to protect Xylo. Ethan had never fought anyone in his life. He wasn't a soldier, nor was he particularly strong. But humans had a way of thinking differently, of using what they had, turning ordinary tools into extraordinary solutions. Today, that would be their advantage. He moved quietly toward Xylo. "We need to train," Ethan said gently. "They'll be back." "The scouts, they're coming for you." Xylo's eyes widened. They follow, he asked in his soft, musical voice. Ethan nodded. Yes, they are soldiers from your world or something like that. They're not kind. They won't stop until they find you. Xylo's small body trembled. Ethan placed a reassuring hand on his shoulder. I know it's scary, but I'll help you. I'll teach you what I can, and you'll teach me about your powers. We'll fight smarter, not just harder. Xylo nodded slowly, the glow in his skin brightening slightly with determination. For the next several hours, Ethan worked with Xylo, showing him the basics of human tactics. They practiced movement, hiding, and quick thinking. Ethan used simple obstacles in the workshop, crates, ropes, mirrors, to simulate attacks. Xylo was quick to learn. His alien reflexes combined with Ethan's improvisation made them a surprisingly effective team. As they trained, Xylo began to speak more, revealing pieces of his past. My world, my people, queen, he whispered. Empire crumbling, enemies everywhere. Ethan listened carefully, piecing together what little the boy could say. The queen, Xylo explained, was the ruler of an interstellar empire, vast and powerful, but filled with betrayal and danger. Xylo's life had been threatened not because he was weak, but because he was important. Ethan's mind raced. Protecting Xylo was no longer just about survival. It was about keeping a future alive, a future that could stretch far beyond Earth. He realized that humans, underestimated as they were by aliens, could be the key to protecting this boy. Cleverness, courage, and the ability to adapt, traits that Xylo had never seen in his people, could give them an edge. Hours passed, and the city outside remained eerily quiet. Then a sudden vibration shook the workshop. Ethan froze. They're here, he whispered. Xylo's glow intensified. The boy stood, his small hands pulsing with energy. The scouts had arrived. He could feel their presence through some connection he didn't yet fully understand. Outside, shadows moved swiftly. 3 figures approached, humanoid but unmistakably alien. Their movements were precise, practiced, and predatory. Ethan's heart pounded, but he forced himself to stay calm. Panic would only make them easier to find. He glanced at Xylo. Remember what we practiced, he said quietly. We can do this. The scouts entered cautiously. Their eyes scanned the workshop, analyzing every corner. Ethan held his breath, gripping a coil of wires he had prepared as a makeshift trap. Xylo stepped forward, glowing faintly, drawing their attention. The scouts hesitated, unsure whether the boy was a threat. That hesitation was enough. Ethan flicked the switch on his trap. Sparks flew, light flashed, and a sudden shockwave of energy from the improvised device stunned the scouts for a moment. It wasn't much, but it was enough to buy them time. Xylo extended his hands, and a stream of controlled energy shot toward the nearest scout, knocking it back against a wall. Ethan ducked behind a crate, breathing heavily. The scouts recovered quickly. They were strong, fast, and relentless. But Ethan noticed something. They were cautious. They had power, but they underestimated the humans' ability to improvise. That was their advantage. Using mirrors, wires, and every object in the workshop, Ethan created diversions, traps, and barriers. Xylo's energy attacks were precise, guided by Ethan's instructions, turning their small workshop into a battlefield where humans and aliens fought side by side. After several intense minutes, the scouts retreated, realizing the boy was not so easily captured. Ethan and Xylo collapsed against the floor, exhausted but alive. That was close, Ethan said, wiping sweat from his brow. Xylo nodded, his glow fading slightly as his body rested. They strong, he whispered. Ethan smiled faintly. Yeah, but we're smart. And humans, we don't give up. For the next few days, they continued training and preparing. Ethan taught Xylo about Earth weapons, strategies, and even the use of the city itself as an advantage. They mapped escape routes, set alarms, and created signals to warn each other. Xylo, in turn, taught Ethan how to focus energy, heal minor injuries, and sense danger. Their bond grew stronger with each passing hour, built on trust, necessity, and a shared goal, survival. Then one evening, Xylo revealed more of the truth. Queen reward important, he said. She gives gift. Whoever protects gets it. Ethan frowned. A reward, he asked. Xylo nodded, though his eyes looked troubled. Powerful changes everything. Ethan considered the weight of the words. The boy was important, yes, but now they had drawn the attention of an entire empire. Protecting him wasn't just about life anymore. It was about something far bigger than either of them. Days later, they heard rumors of a massive alien ship entering Earth's orbit. It wasn't a scout or a small patrol. It was a warship, bristling with energy weapons and shields. Ethan's heart sank. They had held off the scouts, but now the Empire itself was looking for Xylo. He glanced at the boy, who seemed calm despite the looming threat. Xylo's trust in him was complete. Ethan felt a surge of determination. He couldn't fail, not now. Ethan and Xylo began planning a bold move. They couldn't stay on Earth, they were too exposed. Using salvaged parts from old spacecraft and experimental engines, Ethan proposed stealing a small ship from the city's spaceport. It was risky, but it might be the only way to protect Xylo and give them a chance to survive. Xylo listened, understanding the risks, but he nodded. They had no choice. On the night of their departure, the city was silent under a crescent moon. Ethan and Xylo moved quickly, avoiding patrols and drones. Every step was calculated, every sound a potential alarm. Ethan's hands shook slightly, but he kept his focus. They reached the small spacecraft, hidden beneath a warehouse for repairs. It was old, patched up, but capable. Ethan started the engines, holding his breath as they roared to life. Suddenly, alarms blared across the spaceport. Scouts had spotted them. Ethan glanced at Xylo. "Ready?" he asked. Xylo's glowing eyes met his. "Yes." Together, they launched into the night sky, weaving through defenses, dodging lasers, and using every trick Ethan had learned from his time in the workshop. The chase was intense. Alien ships pursued them relentlessly, firing beams of energy that lit up the night sky. Ethan maneuvered the ship with skill born of desperation, dodging and countering as Xylo unleashed bursts of energy that disrupted enemy sensors. It was a dangerous dance, each moment threatening disaster, but together they were a force neither had expected. After what felt like hours but was only minutes, they broke through the last of the pursuing ships and entered the safety of space. Ethan's hands were raw from gripping controls, sweat running down his face, but he felt a sense of triumph. Xylo floated beside him, exhausted but unharmed, his glow now a calm, steady light. Ethan exhaled, finally allowing himself a moment of relief. "We made it," he said softly. Xylo nodded, his small hand resting on Ethan's arm. "Thanks, human," Ethan smiled. "No, thank you. You taught me more than I could ever imagine." For the first time, Ethan allowed himself to look at the stars with hope instead of fear. They were small, alone, and far from home, but they had survived. Humans were underestimated by the galaxy, yet here they were, holding their own against an empire. Ethan felt a surge of pride. This was just the beginning. Earth had given Xylo sanctuary, but now humanity would play a role no one had expected in the fate of the galaxy. As they traveled deeper into space, Ethan and Xylo worked together to plan their next moves. They would need allies, intelligence, and cunning if they were to survive the Empire's wrath. But Ethan felt something others in the galaxy had not felt, the unbreakable human spirit. Humans adapted, endured, and fought with ingenuity. He was ready to prove it. Xylo's voice broke the silence, soft but firm. "Queen waits," Ethan nodded. "Then we'll be ready." Together they stared ahead into the vast unknown, two unlikely allies bound by trust, courage, and the determination to survive against impossible odds. For the first time, Ethan felt it clearly. The universe was about to change, and humanity was no longer just an observer. They were players, and they were ready to show what humans could do. The stolen alien ship cut through the dark void of space like a silver arrow. Ethan sat at the controls, his hands gripping the panels tightly, every sense alert. The stars streaked past them as they accelerated, and Xylo floated beside him, calm but glowing faintly, his eyes scanning the instruments and the distant cosmos. Earth was now a small blue dot behind them, a reminder of home they might never see again. Ethan's mind raced. They had escaped the immediate danger, but the Empire was vast, powerful, and relentless. He had no idea what awaited them beyond the edge of their solar system, or how far they would have to go to keep Xylo safe. Yet in the quiet moments he found himself studying the boy beside him, thinking about how much trust Xylo had placed in him. That trust weighed heavily, but it also gave Ethan strength. He would not fail. "Human," Xylo's voice broke the silence, soft but commanding. Ethan turned toward him. "Yes, Queen, she tests." Xylo's words were slow, deliberate. "Tests humans," Ethan raised an eyebrow. "I guess we're about to find out. How much testing are we talking about?" Xylo looked uneasy, his small hands glowing faintly. "Very important. Survival, Empire," Ethan nodded. "All right, whatever comes, we handle it together." Over the next few days, they traveled through regions of space Ethan had only seen in simulations and books. Meteors zipped past their ship, and distant suns cast shadows across the panels. Xylo showed Ethan how to navigate using alien instruments, energy readings, and spatial awareness far beyond human sensors. Ethan, in turn, adapted his knowledge of mechanical systems to the alien ship, fixing minor malfunctions, rerouting power, and improvising solutions with the resourcefulness only a human could possess. One night, as the ship drifted past a purple nebula, Xylo finally revealed more of his story. Queen, not only ruler, she decides who lives, who dies, who gains power, her reward, chooses future. Ethan listened carefully. So she decides everything. Even people's lives, Xylo nodded solemnly. Yes, empire vast but weak, betrayal everywhere, enemies inside, danger for me, danger for human, danger for all. Ethan swallowed hard. Protecting Xylo was no longer just about saving a single life, it could affect entire star systems. Their discussions were interrupted by sudden alarms. Ethan's stomach dropped. "What now?" he whispered. Xylo's eyes glowed brighter. "Scouts, closer, faster!" Ethan's mind raced. The Empire was relentless. They had not given up. Using the ship's alien cloaking system, they managed to evade detection temporarily, but Ethan knew it was only a matter of time before the scouts tracked them down. In the days that followed, Ethan pushed Xylo to train more intensively. He needed to understand the limits of his powers, how to defend himself, and how to use his energy in combination with human ingenuity. They ran drills, simulated attacks, and tested strategies in the ship's corridors. Xylo learned to channel energy through walls, manipulate small objects at a distance, and heal minor injuries quickly. Ethan, impressed and sometimes astonished, realized how powerful the boy could become with experience and trust. One evening, Ethan discovered a hidden compartment in the ship. Inside were data crystals filled with star maps, communications, and strange alien writings. He and Xylo spent hours deciphering them. The information revealed the locations of Imperial outposts, patrol routes, and even weak points in the Empire's defenses. Xylo seemed both excited and anxious. "Queen does not expect humans here." Ethan smiled faintly. "Well, maybe that's exactly why we're here. We have something they don't, brains and courage." The next challenge came suddenly. While passing near a binary star system, the ship's sensors picked up multiple fast-moving crafts approaching. The scouts had tracked them again. Ethan's heart raced. "Hold on," he shouted. "We're going to have to move fast." Xylo's glow intensified as he prepared to use his energy. Ethan maneuvered the ship skillfully, dodging beams of energy and weaving through the stars. For the first time, Ethan felt the exhilaration of being alive in a battle that was bigger than anything on Earth. Xylo launched controlled bursts of energy that disrupted the scouts' navigation, giving Ethan precious seconds to outmaneuver them. He realized that even in space, humans had an advantage: creativity. Aliens might have power, speed, and technology, but humans had adaptability, unpredictability, and courage. Together, they made a formidable team. After hours of cat-and-mouse pursuit, they managed to lose the scouts by hiding in the gravitational pull of a nearby gas giant. Ethan and Xylo floated in the ship, exhausted but alive. "We're going to have to be smarter," Ethan said, panting. "They'll keep coming." Xylo nodded silently, his small body glowing faintly with recovery energy. In the quiet moments after the chase, Ethan realized something important. Humanity had always faced overwhelming odds and survived. From small wars to global crises, humans had endured because they adapted, they thought differently, and they never gave up. Now, in the vastness of space, those same qualities could protect Xylo and possibly change the fate of an entire empire. Days passed as they traveled farther from known space. They encountered uncharted planets, drifting debris, and strange phenomena. Ethan learned to navigate using intuition, experience, and improvisation, while Xylo learned to rely on human tactics combined with his alien abilities. Their bond deepened, no words necessary. Trust had grown between them, a silent understanding that they would face whatever came together. Then Xylo spoke again, his voice trembling slightly. "Queen, tests, humans important, reward powerful." Ethan looked at him, concern etched on his face. "Reward. What kind of reward?" Xylo hesitated. "Gift changes fate, whoever protects gets it." Ethan felt the weight of those words. Protecting Xylo was no longer just about survival. It was about destiny, about a future neither of them fully understood. Ethan realized that they needed allies, intelligence, and careful planning. He spent days studying the data crystals they had found, learning about the Empire's weaknesses and preparing strategies. Xylo helped, using his powers to access information and sense danger, revealing things even Ethan's sharp mind could not perceive. They became a team, human ingenuity complementing alien skill. One night, as they rested near a small moon, Xylo suddenly stiffened. Scouts approaching, faster, stronger, Ethan's heart pounded. He quickly ran to the controls. The approaching ships were larger, more heavily armed, and coordinated in a way that suggested they were no ordinary scouts. They had learned from previous encounters. The Empire was escalating, sending more powerful forces to retrieve Xylo. Ethan didn't panic. Instead, he analyzed the situation with calm precision. Using knowledge of alien technology, human strategy, and the environment, he devised a plan. They would hide in the shadow of the moon, use bursts of energy to mislead sensors, and create decoys using spare drones and mirrors. Xylo listened carefully, ready to use his abilities to amplify Ethan's strategy. The plan unfolded perfectly. The alien ships scanned, fired, and adjusted their approach, only to be misled by illusions, reflected light, and unexpected bursts of energy. Ethan marveled at how their teamwork worked seamlessly. He had never imagined humans could combine with alien powers to such effect. Xylo's energy pulses guided the ship, while Ethan controlled movement and tactics with instinctive skill. After hours of tension, the alien ships gave up temporarily, retreating to report back to the Empire. Ethan and Xylo floated in the silence of space, hearts racing but victorious. "We did it," Ethan whispered. Xylo's small hand glowed softly as he touched Ethan's arm. "Yes, human, clever, strong," Ethan smiled faintly. "We're just getting started." In the days that followed, they continued deeper into uncharted space, preparing for the inevitable arrival of the Queen herself. Every moment was filled with training, planning, and quiet reflection. Ethan realized that humans were underestimated in the galaxy not because they lacked power, but because no one understood how far their ingenuity, courage, and determination could reach. One morning, Xylo finally spoke clearly. "Queen waits test bigger than scouts," Ethan nodded. "Then we'll be ready, we'll be smarter, faster, stronger together." Xylo's glow brightened slightly, his confidence growing. Ethan felt a surge of pride and determination. Humans had faced impossible odds before, and now, in the vast emptiness of space, they were proving once again that nothing could stop them. As they traveled onward, Ethan glanced at the stars, thinking of Earth, of home, and of the future. He had no illusions about the dangers ahead, but he also knew that humans had a unique strength, the ability to survive, adapt, and thrive even against overwhelming odds. He would protect Xylo, face the Empire, and show the universe what humans were capable of. And for the first time, he felt it clearly. The bond between human and alien, between ingenuity and power, could change the fate of worlds. The Queen might be waiting, the Empire might be vast and dangerous, but Ethan and Xylo were ready. Together, they were unstoppable. The Queen's capital appeared on the horizon like a jewel suspended in the void, massive towers of crystal and metal reflecting the light of a distant dying star. Ethan could hardly believe the sight. It was breathtaking, vast, elegant, and terrifying at the same time. Xylo floated beside him, eyes wide and glowing brighter than usual. "Queen waits," he whispered. Ethan nodded silently, feeling the weight of what lay ahead. This was no ordinary test. This was the heart of the Empire, and they were about to face the ruler herself. The ship descended slowly, weaving between enormous platforms that jutted out over the void. Energy shields shimmered faintly around the city, a warning to all who dared approach. Ethan's hands gripped the control panels tightly. He had piloted through scouts and warships, but this was different. Every movement needed to be precise. One mistake could mean death or capture for both of them. As they touched down on a landing platform, Ethan took a deep breath and opened the hatch. Xylo floated forward, small but determined, his body glowing faintly with energy. Ethan followed, muscles tense, eyes scanning the surroundings. The air here was different, charged with energy, powerful and alien, yet not hostile. It felt alive. The city stretched before them like a maze of shining towers, bridges, and hovering platforms. each one larger than anything Ethan had ever imagined. They were greeted almost immediately by figures in flowing uniforms, their movements precise and deliberate. The guards were tall, elegant, and intimidating. They spoke in a language Ethan could not understand, but Xylo responded, and the guards' expressions softened slightly. Ethan followed silently, trusting the boy's guidance. They led him through corridors lined with strange machinery and glowing walls, the energy of the city pulsing with a rhythm that seemed almost alive. Finally, they entered a vast chamber at the heart of the capital. The ceiling arched high above them, decorated with lights and patterns that shifted and shimmered as if reflecting the universe itself. And there, at the far end of the chamber, sat the queen. She was magnificent, regal, and terrifying. Her eyes glowed with power, her robes shimmered like starlight, and her presence demanded attention. Ethan felt his heart pound. This was the ruler of an empire that spanned galaxies, and here she was, looking directly at him. The queen's voice echoed in the chamber, both melodic and commanding. Ethan couldn't understand the words, but the meaning was clear. This was a test, and he was part of it. Xylo stepped forward, small and resolute, while Ethan followed closely. The queen's gaze swept over him, assessing, measuring, as if she could see every thought and intention. Ethan straightened, determined not to show fear. The first test began without warning. A series of obstacles appeared in the chamber, beams of energy, shifting platforms, and moving walls. Ethan realized quickly that this was not just a physical challenge. It required intelligence, observation, and quick thinking. He glanced at Xylo. "We can do this," he whispered. Xylo nodded, his glow intensifying. Together, they moved through the obstacles, Xylo using his energy to manipulate the environment while Ethan calculated paths, timing, and strategies with precision. The queen watched silently, her expression unreadable. Ethan felt the pressure of her gaze, but he pushed himself harder. Every movement, every decision mattered. He realized that humans, underestimated by many civilizations, had a unique strength here: creativity. They could adapt, improvise, and find solutions where others relied solely on power. Xylo's abilities complemented Ethan's ingenuity perfectly. Together, they advanced through the first set of challenges, earning a faint nod of approval from the queen. The second test was more demanding. Holographic enemies appeared, fast and deadly, attacking from all sides. Ethan and Xylo moved as a team. Ethan used mirrors and reflections to confuse the holograms, while Xylo unleashed energy bursts to disable them. The enemies adapted quickly, forcing Ethan to think on his feet, altering strategies mid-action. Sweat ran down his face, but he did not falter. He had learned from Earth, from his workshop, from the countless ways humans had survived impossible odds. Now he used every lesson to protect Xylo and navigate the trial. After what felt like hours but was only minutes, the holograms dissipated, leaving Ethan and Xylo standing in the chamber, breathing heavily but victorious. The queen's expression remained unreadable, but Ethan sensed approval in the subtle shift of her posture. Xylo floated closer to Ethan, his small hand glowing as he touched Ethan's arm. "Human, strong, clever," he whispered. Ethan smiled faintly, pride swelling in his chest. The final test was the most personal. The queen herself appeared before them, stepping down from her throne. Her presence radiated power, authority, and intelligence. She spoke, her voice commanding yet strangely gentle. "Human, your mind, your courage, your heart will determine the fate of this boy and perhaps your world." Ethan swallowed hard. This was more than a test of skill. It was a test of morality, empathy, and understanding. He realized that the queen wanted to see if he was worthy, not just physically, but in spirit. Ethan thought of Earth, of the people he had left behind, of the values that guided him. He thought of Xylo, trusting him completely, and of the Empire, vast and powerful, yet vulnerable in ways humans could exploit. He stepped forward, speaking honestly with courage and determination. "I protect him because it's right. Not for power, not for reward, but because no one else can, and because he deserves a chance to live." The queen studied him silently, her eyes piercing, as if reading his soul. Then she spoke again, and this time her words were in a language Ethan could understand, though her tone carried weight beyond meaning. "Courage, loyalty, humanity, rare qualities, beyond power, beyond logic, you have proven yourself." Ethan felt a wave of relief and awe. The queen, ruler of countless worlds, recognized something in humans that even the most advanced civilizations often overlooked: heart, ingenuity, and the ability to act when all else seemed impossible. Xylo's small body glowed brightly, his energy flowing freely now, no longer restrained by fear. He floated closer to Ethan, eyes shining with gratitude and relief. "Human, worthy, reward," he whispered. Ethan felt the weight of what was coming. He had faced scouts, warships, and impossible odds, but now the reward, the Queen's recognition, was something he had never imagined. The Queen extended her hand, and Ethan realized the significance of the moment. He had passed her test, but more importantly, he had proven that humans could stand alongside the galaxy's most powerful beings. She spoke again, her voice both commanding and gentle. "The reward for the one who protects is not gold, not weapons, it is trust, knowledge, and the chance to shape the future." Ethan's heart raced. This was more than he had expected. Humans had never been given such an opportunity before. Xylo touched the Queen's hand gently, and Ethan felt a surge of energy ripple through the chamber. The boy's power, once restrained by fear and danger, now flowed freely, guided by trust and human ingenuity. Ethan watched in awe as the Queen's recognition transformed the boy, making him stronger, wiser, and more confident. The bond between human and alien had become undeniable, and the Queen acknowledged it fully. Ethan realized something profound. Humans were not weak. They were not insignificant. Even against empires that spanned galaxies, humans could adapt, improvise, and overcome challenges through courage, creativity, and heart. Xylo's trust in him had made all the difference, and together, they had proven that even the smallest human could change the course of the universe. The Queen's final words echoed in the chamber. "Go protect, learn, shape. Future humanity has potential beyond measure." Ethan nodded, understanding the responsibility now resting on his shoulders. He had passed the ultimate test, but the journey was far from over. The Empire, the Queen, and the unknown dangers of the galaxy awaited them. But now they were ready. Humans had been underestimated for too long, and Ethan would make sure they were never underestimated again. As they left the chamber, Xylo floated beside Ethan, his glow steady and strong. The city outside stretched into the distance, magnificent and alive, but Ethan's thoughts were already on the challenges ahead. They had survived tests, faced scouts, and won the Queen's recognition, but the galaxy was vast, full of danger and opportunity. Humanity's place in it was just beginning, and he was determined to make it count. For the first time, Ethan felt a true sense of possibility. Humans could be more than observers in the universe. They could be protectors, innovators, and shapers of destiny. Xylo had trusted him, and now the Queen had recognized his worth. The reward was not simple, but it was powerful. The chance to change the future, to prove that humanity could rise above any challenge, and to forge alliances that no one in the Empire could have anticipated. As they prepared to depart the capital, Ethan looked at Xylo and then at the stars beyond. The galaxy was vast, full of danger and wonder, but he no longer felt fear. Together, they were strong. Humans were underestimated, but that was their strength. Cleverness, courage, empathy, they had all combined to survive tests that would have defeated even the most powerful beings. And now, with the Queen's recognition, they were ready for anything. The next chapter of their journey was about to begin. Ethan and Xylo would face the unknown, encounter new civilizations, and confront challenges that tested their minds, hearts, and trust in each other. But one thing was clear. Humanity, underestimated for so long, had proven its worth. And the galaxy would never look at humans the same way again. The stars stretched endlessly around them as Ethan and Xylo prepared to leave the Queen's capital. The city's glowing towers faded behind them, a reminder of the power, knowledge, and recognition they had earned. Yet as magnificent as the capital had been, Ethan understood that their journey was far from over. The galaxy was vast, full of dangers, unknown civilizations, and challenges that could strike at any moment. But this time, they were ready. Humans had been underestimated for too long, and now Ethan felt the weight of responsibility and hope more than ever. Xylo floated beside him, small hands glowing, his energy steady. "Human Queen reward gift important," he whispered. Ethan nodded. "I know. And we'll use it wisely, not for power, not for pride, but to protect, to learn, and to shape a better future." Xylo's eyes shone with a mixture of relief and determination. For the first time, he seemed fully confident, fully capable. Their trust in each other had grown into something stronger than fear or danger. It was a bond that could face any challenge. As they navigated through uncharted space, they began to plan. They would need allies, intelligence, and knowledge of the Empire's weaknesses. Ethan reviewed the data crystals they had acquired, filled with star maps, outpost locations, patrol schedules, and communications intercepted from the Queen's scouts. Xylo helped him understand the alien technology, decoding patterns and energy flows that Ethan would never have grasped on his own. Together, human ingenuity and alien power made them a team that could challenge even the most powerful forces in the galaxy. Days passed without incident, but the calm was deceptive. Ethan knew that somewhere scouts, spies, and enemies were searching for them relentlessly. They had survived the capital, but the Empire was vast, and their journey had just begun. He decided to make a detour to a hidden planet Xylo remembered from his past, a place of refuge, knowledge, and safety. It was small, almost invisible to scanners, but rich in resources and information that could help them survive the coming battles. When they arrived, Ethan stepped out of the ship, amazed by the planet's beauty. It was filled with lush forests, sparkling rivers, and skies painted with colors he had never seen. Xylo guided him through hidden paths, explaining that this world had once been a secret outpost for scholars and explorers. Here, they could rest, plan, and train without immediate threat. Ethan felt a strange sense of peace, though he knew it could not last. For the next several days, they trained, studied, and prepared. Xylo taught Ethan more about his abilities, how to sense energy fields, detect danger, and manipulate small amounts of power. Ethan, in turn, taught Xylo strategies, improvisation, and the ways humans turned simple tools into extraordinary weapons. They ran drills, simulated attacks, and learned to anticipate each other's moves. Their bond deepened further, a silent understanding that they would protect one another at any cost. One evening, while watching the twin suns set over the planet's horizon, Xylo spoke quietly. "Human Queen believes in you, in us." Ethan smiled faintly. "I hope so. But it's not just about her, it's about survival and about showing the galaxy what humans can do." Xylo's eyes glimmered. "Yes, humans clever, strong, heart, important." Ethan nodded. He felt the truth in Xylo's words. Humanity had always survived against impossible odds. That same resilience, intelligence, and courage could shape the galaxy, starting with protecting this boy. Their calm was broken by a sudden alert. Ethan's makeshift scanners detected multiple ships approaching rapidly. Scouts. No more than scouts, he could feel the energy of elite warriors, the kind that had never failed before. The Empire had learned, adapted, and was coming for them in force. Ethan glanced at Xylo. "Ready?" he asked. Xylo's small hand glowed brightly. "Yes, human, ready." Together they prepared for the fight that would determine not just their survival, but the fate of countless systems. The attack came swiftly. Ships surrounded the planet, firing energy beams and scanning for any sign of their location. Ethan piloted the ship through narrow canyons, dodging blasts and weaving through obstacles, while Xylo unleashed controlled bursts of energy to disrupt sensors and disable the enemy. Each move required precise timing, creativity, and absolute trust in each other. The human mind and alien power complemented perfectly, a combination the Empire had never anticipated. Hours passed in a blur of motion, sound, and energy. Ethan and Xylo worked as one, their bond evident in every action. They turned simple environmental features into traps, used reflections to blind sensors, and created diversions that left enemy forces confused and vulnerable. Despite the overwhelming numbers, their teamwork turned the tide. Humans had always thrived by thinking differently, and this moment proved it once again. Finally, the attacking ships withdrew, unable to predict or counter the combination of human ingenuity and alien ability. Ethan exhaled heavily, sweat dripping from his brow. Xylo floated beside him, glowing softly, energy stabilizing. "We survived," Ethan whispered. Xylo nodded. "Yes, human, clever, strong." Ethan smiled faintly. They had survived, but he knew this was only the beginning. In the days that followed, they strengthened their position on the hidden planet. They repaired their ship, studied alien communications, and prepared for the next stage of their journey. Ethan realized that the galaxy was full of possibilities, alliances to be forged, civilizations to understand, and challenges to overcome. Humans, underestimated for millennia, now had the chance to shape the future in ways no one had imagined. Then came the moment Ethan had been anticipating. A message arrived through encrypted channels directly from the Queen herself. It was an invitation and a warning. She had recognized their skill, courage, and ingenuity. She acknowledged the bond between human and alien and offered them a place among her council of advisors and protectors. The reward was not mere wealth or weapons. It was trust, influence, and the ability to impact the galaxy. Ethan studied the message carefully. Xylo, this is it. The Queen wants us to help shape the Empire, to protect it and maybe even change it. Xylo's eyes glowed with excitement and relief. Human, we together strong can do it. Ethan nodded. Yes. Together, for the first time, he felt the true weight of their accomplishment. They had survived scouts, warships, tests of skill, and moral trials. Now they had an opportunity to show the galaxy the strength of humanity, not through brute force, but through intelligence, courage, and heart. Their journey to the Queen's palace was solemn but filled with anticipation. Ethan piloted the ship with precision, navigating through dense asteroid fields and unpredictable space currents. Xylo guided him using his energy perception, detecting hidden threats and advising on optimal paths. Together they arrived at the palace, not as fugitives or survivors but as recognized champions, worthy of trust, respect, and influence. The Queen greeted them once more, her presence both imposing and welcoming. Human, she said, her voice resonating through the chamber, you have proven that your species possesses qualities rare even among the stars: courage, ingenuity, and loyalty. Your bond with Xylo shows that even the smallest human can shape the fate of worlds. Ethan felt a surge of pride and humility. He realized that humans were not just survivors, they were innovators, leaders, and protectors. The Queen extended her hand, and Ethan understood the full significance of the moment. By accepting her offer, they would gain knowledge, allies, and the chance to guide the future of the Empire. But more importantly, they would demonstrate to the galaxy that humans were not to be underestimated. Xylo's hand touched Ethan's, and together they stepped forward, ready to accept the responsibility and the reward that awaited them. In the weeks that followed, Ethan and Xylo worked closely with the Queen and her advisors. They studied planetary systems, explored diplomatic strategies, and learned about the Empire's technology and culture. Ethan shared human innovations, from simple mechanical solutions to creative problem-solving, earning the respect of scholars and leaders across star systems. Xylo, empowered by their bond and the Queen's recognition, became a stronger, wiser leader, guided by Ethan's insight and humanity's ingenuity. Through their efforts, the Empire began to stabilize. Internal betrayals were mitigated, outposts were reinforced, and alliances were strengthened. The human influence, though subtle, had a profound impact. Ethan realized that they were not just protecting Xylo. They were shaping the galaxy, ensuring that compassion, intelligence, and courage had a place alongside power and strength. One evening, as they watched the twin suns set over the palace from a balcony high above the city, Xylo turned to Ethan. Human, we did it together. Ethan smiled, placing a hand on Xylo's shoulder. Yes, together. Humans have always survived, always adapted, always found a way, and now we've proven it to the galaxy. Xylo's glow brightened, reflecting the sun's fading light. Human, proud, worthy. Ethan felt the truth in his words. They had faced impossible odds, and humans had emerged stronger, smarter, and more important than anyone had imagined. Ethan knew that challenges would continue. The galaxy was vast, and danger was never far away. But now, humanity had a seat at the table. Their ingenuity, courage, and heart had earned recognition, respect, and influence. He realized that the universe would never underestimate humans again, and as he looked at Xylo, he felt a profound sense of accomplishment. They had survived, thrived, and changed the course of history together. As they prepared to leave the balcony, the Queen's voice echoed from behind them. Human, Xylo, your journey is only beginning, but the universe now knows humanity is not weak. Humanity is strong, clever, brave, and invaluable. Ethan smiled, feeling the weight and honor of her words. He had not sought recognition, power, or glory. He had acted with courage, ingenuity, and heart, and that was the essence of being human. Together, Ethan and Xylo turned toward the stars, ready for whatever challenges awaited them. The galaxy was full of mysteries, dangers, and opportunities, but humans had proven themselves. They could survive, adapt, and rise above the impossible. And with Xylo by his side, Ethan knew they would face it all and shape the future of the universe. In the vast expanse of space, among stars, planets, and unknown worlds, a human and an alien boy stood side by side. They had faced scouts, warships, tests, and trials. They had proven courage, intelligence, and heart, and now they had earned a place where their actions would shape the fate of countless beings across galaxies. Humanity had shown itself to the universe, and it was a force to be reckoned with. For the first time, Ethan felt truly at peace. They had survived the impossible, gained the Queen's trust, and changed the galaxy's perception of humans forever. And as they soared through the stars, he realized the truth that had guided him all along. Humanity, clever, brave, and unstoppable, was ready to take its place among the stars.